This is the Silt Verses part two of a campaign that I'm calling Drowned Revelations. We'll just jump right back in and recap what happened last time and um, kind of review where each character is at. So, the group of custodians is investigating the floating market and trying to determine what is the most dangerous source of like black market divinity that's there. And you've determined that it's a combination of things, actually. It is this purple mold, which kind of has some sort of incapacitating effect on people, and it is being used to lure people into this painting. And Bastion, our follower of the Cairn Maiden, actually had an experience with that. So, Relics Reborn, this sort of weird antique shop on this barge, is responsible for that. But it's also connected to Jones and Company, which is this theological dissolution services, who may have some kind of smuggling operations going on. Maybe they're not actually destroying everything. So you've answered the first question, and it's all on the assignment tab here. You can kind of peek at the next questions. You have two available to you. You can choose either option. One is a little more complicated, but the first is how can the product be neutralized, which is complexity 4. You can resolve the assignment by destroying or severing any divine influence from this combination of things, from this painting, so that it no longer presents a threat. Or there's a little bit of temptation for your custodians. How can the custodians take advantage of the opportunities the market presents? This is complexity 6. And if you take that approach, you actually negotiate an exclusive contract, an exclusive arrangement with one of these vendors so that they won't endanger the public. And that lets you actually return to the market. And there's a little checklist of things I have that you have like new opportunities that you can kind of pursue. So you might decide it's in your interest to have connections in a black market. It could be quite useful. Let's look at the custodians really quick. I think everyone has some conditions, right? Um, Bastion has the drowning song. Dr. Raymond Quick has mold spores. Zeph Harrow is marked by Jones and Company. And actually, Merriweather is doing just fine. So, any other things you want to recap? I mean, we'll kind of get back into it, but if there's anything else you want to recap where we left your character, we'll just kind of continue on. So, the start of the session, make sure you pick new end of session questions if you want to, or keep the ones you had before. And you have a new assignment. So, in the midst of all this happening, which of you would we say would be like the least in immediate danger where we left off? A courier is going to show up and hand one of you a note. I'm just trying to think of who might be like least in imminent danger.
Well, we were all together, right, discussing the question. So I guess maybe if
Hmm.
if
Oh, sure.
Merriweather she doesn't have a condition, maybe she's the one that is in least under least threat.
Hmm.
That
Sure, that makes
works.
sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a courier just kind of like comes by and they're carrying not only like a mail satchel but various like almost like a tactical looking vest with like many pockets and envelopes and scrolls, and kind of sees you. um do you have any sort of like custodian identifiers on you, or are you pretty incognito? Meriwether.
Um, I feel like maybe she has her anorak has a badge that's sort of affixed to the chest of it. That she was
Mm,
probably hiding while she was talking to the Jones and Company people, but now that we're just, hanging out eating,
sure,
she's pretty identifiable.
that works. Yeah. They kind of like look at you. They take out this particular envelope. It's like heavily taped. It's sealed, but passes it to you. And when you get a chance to look at it, it just mentions um, urgent matters upriver, investigate before the situation escalates. And it mentions that there's a beach. Go to Blue West Beach. I'm going to read the intro just out of character so you have it, and then we'll see where you want to go, if you want to split up or continue at this investigation. So this next assignment is called Young Jolly Junk. I've put the title in the tab. This one's written by Megan Caldwell. He's written some other cool stuff for the Between and other Gauntlet games. Where people go, trash follows, and few things insult a god more than using ruined spaces as a garbage dump. After several gods went on rampages through landfills and furnaces, the central Glottage government decreed that all industrial waste be thrown along the coast and into the waters. While this did disrupt many smaller fringe faiths, nevertheless the plan went through. As more plastic bags and rotting vegetables piled up amongst oil spills and clothing dye, the people begged for a god to break down what no one else could. Thus was born Young Jolly Junk, a popular ocean god whose followers promised to keep our coasts jolly. For decades, she has feasted on the flotsam and jetsam of modern manufacturing. Her image decorates beach signs and lifeguard stands, and children love playing with toys made in her likeness, which is this otter-headed god, neck kind of tangled with fishing lines, like this almost garland, kind of almost this layers of trash and plastic and rubber tires made into this long flowing dress this train that goes out to the water. But you've received this report that she's grown to enormous size, far larger than she's been in prior years. The Blue West Channel, which is located near these two manufacturing giants, Kepler Textiles and Mortel Plastic Refinery. The channel has been rendered impassable. And what's made this even worse is a flotilla of boats has been gathering near the god as fishing docks are being ripped up and destroyed. And there's even rumors of pollution from these different manufacturing companies. So, time is of the essence. This is upriver from the market that you are investigating right now. I'm going to keep putting the spotlight on Merryweather. Actually, I think this will be interesting for the Watcher of the Wings follower. Elle, Merryweather, I should say. You've witnessed a god be overfed before. What did you see in the aftermath, and what did you lose? Take a minute to think about it if you need.
Mm-hmm. I think it was in a part of the peninsula where oil extraction is the main sort of way people made their livelihood. Merriweather was there for research, which was her main reason for traveling before joining this group of custodians. And she saw how the god of the earth there, the one that ran under the earth, the gold as black blood, as the locals called it, how he would feed the people there in exchange for just occasionally a man or two, someone's husband or son, losing his life out in the oil field. And the people were okay with that for a while until things started to get drier. It seemed harder to extract the money from the ground. And so they let more and more of their husbands and sons die. Happily, they did this because the alternative is oblivion. And that happened for months and months and months until it was a ghost town. And as for what Merriweather lost, she had a lover in that town, someone she met after she traveled there. She tries not to think about them too much these days.
Thank you. Something we might learn more about, maybe not. So you're here, you're at the market. Yeah, it's really, really cool. What are you thinking as a group? You have some opportunities here. This other one sounds pretty urgent, so you could split up. You could give the floating market some breathing space and all go up there. There's no real disadvantage to breaking up as far as the game goes. You can cover more ground, but it's totally up to you. Either way, we'll definitely do a journey scene here at some point.
I mean, as soon as Merriweather sort of reads this out, Zeph kind of latches onto it. It's like, oh well, if we can just sort of, I mean, I think that we've got some heat on us from this place. I think that maybe we should take this opportunity to let people forget we were here. Forget that they're mad at some of us for interrupting their thing. I don't. What do you all think about this? I think it might be useful. I don't know. I don't care about the urgency, but like it might be useful for us.
Zeph, I do believe our function here is to pursue criminals making use of illegal deities, not to flee from them.
Fleeing is a strong word here, Doctor. I really don't think it's just giving it some time to for our advantage. I don't think it's fleeing. No, no.
My position is that, and the spores kind of addling him. He's trying to kind of keep his cool and remain very stern, but maybe his sort of cheek is twitching just a little bit, Dr. Quick, from the mold spores. Says, in my opinion, one should always keep pressure on a wound, and a wound is what we have found here. If, Zeph, you wish to go your own way and investigate this coastal god, Godspeed to you, but I believe we should be better placed pursuing our leads here.
I mean, I guess I could go and give Zeph some backup at the coast. We can cover more ground that way.
Exactly what I was thinking about. See, Bastion understands me. It gets my point.
Well, I'm with the good doctor. I think we strike while the iron is hot. Though I will miss you, Zeph. The camera loves you.
Oh,
And Merriweather does have her camcorder out recording this conversation.
Nice.
Zeph kind of does like a little awkward like wave to the camera, like,
Mhm.
I'm sure it does. Thank you. I'm sure we'll see each other again very soon. I'm sure this isn't something too grave. If you two
Don't
have.
jinx it.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Before
it'll
we
be
go our
fine.
separate ways, since Zeph and Bastion, I presume you'd be taking our transportation. Merriweather, I do believe you said earlier that you thought you had a plan for dealing with our little situation at the market. Is that something you're ready to share?
She like takes a second to make eye contact with everyone at the table. As long as you promise not to try to talk me out of it.
I never try and
Okay.
talk anyone out of anything.
And that's why I
That's
like
in-
you, Bastion.
It's an incredibly ominous thing to say before you share a plan, Merriweather, but please.
Now I'm interested. I'm invested. Go on.
Well, we know that Gabriel and whoever he's working with are collecting dead bodies, right? Well, despite what some people think, I'm a pretty good actress. So good, I think I could be dead. Or appear so, just for a little while. Maybe we could see where they keep the bodies, what they do with them. It'll get me inside, at least.
I think we suggested that there were some there were some underwater cages that were hidden under the side of the boat. So presumably those bodies are being stored in containers and then hung under the surface of the water. So if they're airtight, it could work, but it would be dangerous for you, no doubt.
are you sure they won't just kill you outright? Like that does seem. Now I'm not. I do love the theatrics that you're doing here. That sounds very exciting. But are you positive they won't just sort of, you know?
Well, no, but it's part of the thrill, right? You don't go out on stage knowing if you're going to kill that night. You just do it and hope for the best. So, I'm hoping.
I'll back your play, but I suggest we have a very good plan, some kind of signal you can give if you get into trouble.
Okay. How's help me?
It's a little obvious, but yes, of course.
How do you plan to get out fully? That's also a thing. I mean, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have ways to, but it just seems like you could get trapped for real completely. And I'm not here to. I'm not here to stop you. Do whatever you like, but I do like you, and so I do have to sort of put this out there that you know
This sounds a lot like you're trying to talk me out of this.
not trying to talk you out of it, not trying to talk you out of it, just sort of I'm helping the good doctor make a plan before me and Bastion go on our merry way. That's all. That's all. That's all.
Zeph and Bastian, I won't stop you, but with force of numbers, we could be in a better position to help Merryweather. What if we make our move now, strike while the iron is hot, and then you two go on your way, and Merryweather and I can deal with the consequences?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, mechanically, you need more clues, right? You've used the 3 you had, so you have 0 clues currently towards the next question. So probably the setup could be some investigation, some kind of piecing that together. If we want to roll with that, what is the next step? What does that look like? Is there any location you had in mind, Merryweather, or did you want to know more about like what else is at the market that might be useful to you, or what do you think?
I think that kind of by way of investigation, she wants to sort of get inside the operation, see what if they do try to do anything to prepare the bodies before they store them or anything like that. Perhaps one of the others could get some of it on film secretly. And that could be also a way of kind of investigating, seeing, like, recording what they're up to. Yeah, I think she's going to be making a prayer to her god in order to be a convincing corpse for a little
Cool.
while.
Yeah, let's start there. That sounds interesting. And just so I'm framing it right, is there a place that you would like to show up as a corpse, like with Guttle and Croak, the other pox monks, or somewhere else?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
Gabriel is the guy, right? Where does he work, or what's his
Oh,
shop called?
Relics Reborn, the sort of barge full of antiques where the painting of a river prophet was.
Yeah, maybe she'd like to float by somewhere near there.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. Now to appear like a corpse, is there a move you want to trigger? Because otherwise, it's probably going to be the revelation move if you're trying to commune with your god.
You don't?
Sorry, go ahead, John.
No, you go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna ask if all the world to stage might be an appropriate
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
move here.
Let's read the move, or have you read the move if you don't mind.
Sure, I'll read it, yeah. You have the power to alter reality by performing as if you were reading a script aloud on stage, so long as it pleases the watcher. When you deliver a theatrical monologue and narrate what you hope is about to happen in a scene, roll with presence. You may invite your fellow custodians to play along by contributing a single detail to the monologue. Add 1 to the roll if each custodian participates. If you have the
Excellent.
condition a disappointment, you roll with disadvantage, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Not a disappointment yet. You're fine. Actually, this is great because everyone's still here, so they're sort of helping to shape this, shape reality with you, right? So yeah, what does the prayer look like, or what do you want to speak into reality? And then if I'm assuming the other custodians are helping you, everyone wants to kind of follow up and fill in the details, add a detail.
Yeah, I'm kind of imagining that this looks like a sort of impromptu funerary rite. So I don't know if Bastian seems like our expert on that, if he wants to tell us how we're like kind of physically set up to do this.
Yeah, I think maybe we're kind of all stood around on one of the, maybe not on actually one of the piers that's currently being used by the market, but maybe sort of on the other side of the river or what have you. Um, we've got kind of Merryweather between us, and we're all getting ready to almost like launch her off the edge of the jetty that we're on to sort of send her in the right direction.
It's great.
Zeph and Dr. Raymond, which of you is holding the camcorder? Because of course someone has to be.
I I would volunteer to take it because I'm not really digging this whole being on the camcorder thing. It's kind of giving me the heebie-jeebies. So
And I'm gonna. Sorry, Jeff.
no, please go.
I was going to take Lazarus the leech out of his jar and just say to Merryweather, a little exsanguination will help to give you a corpse-like appearance, if you wouldn't mind.
That's
And he kind of
good.
bares his little leech teeth at you in readiness.
If you want to mark that, if you want to give that item to Meriwether and have her mark it, that will give her advantage.
Would that be
If you
useful?
want to.
If you want to, I feel like we're gonna have a pretty good bonus to the roll already since everyone's helping. So I don't want to steal your item just because. But if you'd like
I
to
mean,
mark it.
I like the fact that somehow we found a use for him. So I am going to mark it and let you have advantage if you're up for it.
Nice.
Yeah, she'll extend her already like kind of pale and thin arm and let Lazarus latch on.
Excellent.
I'm imagining
So
just before I retrieve him, fat and happy, having forged himself.
yeah. Amazing. So you have advantage and +1 to the roll, and you're basically where you're hoping to happen is that like everyone will believe that you're a corpse at this funeral, right? And they will find you, believe that you have passed on.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah. So presence plus another one, and at advantage.
Do I need to give a little monologue?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, please. However you
Um,
want to.
yeah, sure. Okay. Seth, hold it still, please.
Sorry, I've never done this. Okay.
It's a camera. You got this.
Okay, yeah. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Do your thing. Do your thing.
So Meriwether stares into the unblinking eye of the camera and like looking deadly serious, pun sort of intended. She says, a child went missing here. Maybe on this very spot, looking out onto the water, imagining adulthood as some shimmering mercurial beast that would someday deliver the future to them, like precious cargo in its back. I don't know this child's name. A man died in Glottage today, probably. Like everyone, he had been decomposing since he was born, and like everyone, he was reborn a little every day. The body's quiet spectacle of regeneration. No one applauded until the show was over. I don't know why this man died, and I don't know his name. A woman died on a farm today because she was made to. because she let it happen. Because life for everyone else would be better if she did. Because her sacrifice was an encore of an encore of an encore. I thank this woman, but I do not know her name. And sooner than I think, I will be nameless too. And then she takes a very deep breath and holds it.
Wow. Amazing. Let's see what the roll looks like.
And I roll with my presence +1 for each
Mhm.
other custodian. Is that right?
Just +1 because you got them to help you out,
Got it.
but at advantage, yeah.
Oh, yes. I forgot about advantage. Amazing. Okay, that's an 11.
Amazing. So you get to say some detail about the world from your performance is now true, and I will try to incorporate it into the scene. It could be just what we set up, or it could be something more specific.
Yeah, I think it's what we set up. We see her skin kind of going bluish, her heartbeat slowing to a crawl, she begins to shiver, and then she sort of becomes dead weight in Dr. Raymond's arms.
Dr. Raymond, how do you? I assume you're like laying Meriwether in some kind of floating casket, or like what's the packaging like here?
Yeah, I'm imagining some kind of floating. We're trying to basically make it a little funeral raft, aren't we? So whatever we've managed to get out of the discard in and around the water by the bank, hopefully somewhere out of sight from the market. So a few planks, kind of a plastic tarp, kind of drape it over her a little bit like a funeral veil, so it looks like maybe someone's tried to dump the body in the water, and to hopefully give her some buoyancy at the same time. And I think Quick will just cock his head curiously, genuinely impressed, and say, "Remarkable, like one truly dead."
And you sent her on her way. And with the 11, of course, this whole arrangement works out perfectly. It drifts right towards the barge of relics reborn, that almost like shamble of crates and furniture just piled high like some weird children's fort. And we'll come back to Meriwether, but this is probably a good time for Zeph and Bastion to get on the road if you'd like to.
Yeah. I'm still holding the camera and I like keep filming her as she floats away because of course I said I'd do it. So I do it until she's out of sight mostly. And then I lower it and look around. Uh do you want this, Dr. Quick? I don't think I should take it with me. It's Meriwether's. I I really don't. I mean, I don't even know what she's doing with it, frankly, but clearly something. It's working.
Want is a strong word, but I will fulfill her last wish. He takes it. I imagine he's kind of already putting his finger over the lens. Not very good with the camcorder, but he kind of holds it uncertainly.
I think Bastion's just kind of standing um, on the jetty, watching Meriwether float away, um, and just sort of nods slowly and says, "I've always thought that might be quite a peaceful way to go, dragged below the waters of the river. But well, hopefully she'll get out of this one."
Hope so.
I do understand that drowning is incredibly painful, Bastion, but it's a lovely sentiment nonetheless.
Is it? Huh.
So I hear, as a doctor.
What is that like, Bastion? Because you do have the condition, the drowning song.
Indeed.
I'm just curious how that, I don't know, how that affects your normal like sentiment about that with the maiden. Are you perceiving anything different throughout all this?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that kind of um I've forgotten the term for it, but there, as particularly as he's watching uh Merryweather float up, I think there is that kind of, he's feeling that pull to kind of join her in the waters sort of thing, which I don't think is a um it's a stronger pull than normal, I think, and it does, especially the idea of kind of being lost out among the rivers is definitely not his usual preference, as it were. I think obviously being away from the embrace of the earth um is kind of much more his usual style. So I think there is that kind of conflict.
Well, probably a good time to step away from the water. Let's cut to the journey phase, and we'll see Bastion and Zeph with the van. This game really only has two phases. You're either in your investigation or you're traveling. You're sort of in between investigations. And I'm going to pull up a prompt, but mechanically this gives you a chance to clear conditions as well as sort of paint the scene a little bit more. And had it, okay. Who's driving at this point among the two of you?
I drove last time, but Zeph would sort of just be like, "You want to?" Seems like Bastion
Sure.
needs something to do, like kind of picking up that he's having an interesting time and maybe needs something to occupy him.
I think Bastion will happily take the wheel. He he drives in that way. It's clear he's used to driving, used to being on the road, but he does not drive safely. He drives fast. Is constantly sort of turning around to talk to as he's driving with that one hand on the wheel, and
Awesome. That does not bother Zeph at all, honestly. Like, not even a little.
I think as Bastion, as we were just talking about the maiden and maybe even Cairns, this catches your eye first, I think. You do see a small roadside shrine, and you've often encountered shrines in your travels. Sometimes they are just simple piles of stones or wreckage or fragments of former lives that have been arranged with some new sort of intention. Roadside memorials. You all would know that sometimes they can be traps for unwary travelers to sort of lure them into the haunt of some hungry god that wants an offering. But you've noticed more of them than usual along this stretch of road. It's kind of an isolated road parallel to the river. And I'm going to put the prompt into the chat here. We're going to take a moment to describe the shrine. And also, while we're thinking about those prompts, you also have a recall a time prompt. The way this works, this is just free roleplay between Bastion and Zeph, which can let you clear condition. But if you want inspiration, you can also kind of use this prompt as a jumping off point, which is, what small act of worship did you perform in a place that no one else could see? So let's think about that. And those prompts, let's say that there are 4 questions. We'll go in the order of the character keeper for those. But we're going to let that breathe for a second and jump back to Merryweather and the doctor. So, John, what does Dr. Raymond do after?
I imagine, having said his farewells to Bastion and Zeph, Dr. Raymond he doesn't want to step on Merryweather's toes, but he is going to try and find a vantage point somewhere in the market where he has eyes on Gabriel's store and can hopefully see if anything is going badly wrong. So he just, maybe if there's the place, the barbecue joint, if that has a good view, he might pull up a stool there, order something very greasy that he's absolutely not going to touch, and
Sure.
just watch, keeping his eyes on what's going on in case he needs to help. And maybe in the meantime, try and listen to the gossip, see if there's anything filtered through the conversations happening at the bar that might be of use.
Excellent. Did we talk about the floating grill last time? I don't think we did. I lose track when I've done a thing multiple times. Let's talk about Salt and Smoke Floating Grill. It's this aging catamaran. There's a charcoal grill and various soup pots that are like mounted between the two holes, like right over the water. There's some old flags from like commercial farm deities, and there's the chitterling, the toothed egg, the butter princess. But clearly they're not serving any sort of mainstream brands here. This feels very DIY. Maybe they're just cooking the day's catch. For everyone, let's paint the scene real quick. What modifications are in place that allow all food products to be rapidly disposed of in case of an emergency?
A lever that just dumps like there's a lever by the grill that just
Mhm.
dumps it into the water.
Mhm. Nice.
That's really cool. And yeah, I might just add to that and say that
Mhm.
you see kind of maybe a couple of small fins in the water, like pikes or some other, or eels or some other slightly predatory fish, larger than they should be, moving very quickly towards the meat as it falls. And there's just a little bit of a feeding frenzy, some bubbles rising for a second before they dissipate.
Ultimate disposal. Yeah. Any other additions?
I think there's there's kind of a where all the bottles of sauces and spices and stuff are. There's just like a big mallet, like a wooden mallet next to it that you could just use to just sort of batter the whole shelves off the wall into the waters below.
I also feel like it's if something comes alive again, you just like hit it with the mallet. It's a great image.
Um, and I think that there's some like pock-faced local teen that the grill has employed to serve as a lookout, who's not doing her job very well. She does not notice the doctor.
Nice. Yeah, in theory, that would be, if the authorities are coming to inspect the joint, she'd be the lookout. But she's a little distracted actually because um, some other market goers are trying to haggle. Um, but specifically, they seem to be haggling over some lumpy, oozing sack that is hung. It seems to be some valuable fresh catch, and they want to be the first to like have it opened. It's a little bit of a surprise. You don't know. Sometimes you get maybe something really special, apparently. But yeah, if the doctor is just kind of nonchalantly getting some food and listening for gossip, you could make the information move here.
I would love
Probably,
to.
yeah. Probably with focus.
Yeah, I've got a focus of 1 and I got a 3 and a 6, so 10.
Oh, great. Okay. So a full success there. I think here's the clue. The clue is a product seeks to expand and replicate itself. And I think that you notice there's like a wok, there's a grill, there's a couple like cooking methods, but I think there's sort of it's a glass terrarium or aquarium where there's like live crabs and lobsters, and the water's a little bit murky, fish, crawling things. Um, but out of the corner of your eye, you kind of see like there was just one, and so it kind of like quivers and kind of seems like it separates almost like an amoeba breaking into two. A little hard to make out exactly what it is. There's sort of a murky, like opal kind of sheen to the water. But that's your clue. If you could, someone could put that in the clue section. But meanwhile, you have a clear view of relics reborn. I think by now you've determined that probably Meriwether's casket has arrived there. You don't see it anymore. In Meriwether, what's this journey like? Do you feel like with the leech, do you feel your own state any different? Like, just curious what role playing a corpse is like for Meriwether, or acting as a corpse.
I think that she thought it would be really peaceful. Like she would just kind of float along the water, hearing it kind of slosh outside of whatever um little coffin she's been placed in. Um, but it's actually like her mind keeps rolling back to that lover that she never thinks about. How he must have felt before he drowned in so much black sludge, how he must have felt knowing he was going to die. And I think it's actually like it's a strange sensation because she has that spike of what feels like that spike of adrenaline without any of the symptoms, no rushing of the heart, no lightening of the head, because it's like her body is so committed to the bit.
Yeah. And at some point, you kind of hear voices, you realize you're drawing near, and kind of a bump as your box that you're floating in hits the side, the hull of this like this big barge. And you don't know this person, only Bastion's met him, but we hear the voice of Gabriel Silesa talking to another person, saying, like, well, sometimes blessings do come our way. Sometimes, see, goods just come our way. I'm not a thief. I told you, sometimes things just appear like this, an offering. And here, help me. Let's get this on board. My friends may want to have the first look, and they start to lift up the box. And you're dragged, kind of get faint odors of dust and mildew, and your sensation of darkness as you're kind of tucked behind some stacks of furniture. And I think I want to have the veiled move here for Meriwether, just to maintain this appearance, just to kind of keep it together while you're being kind of hauled around.
Yeah, for sure.
What could go wrong here if they kind of catch on that you're not actually dead?
I mean, I think she's afraid that uh she'll quote unquote come back to life and pop out of the coffin, and then they'll have to kill her for real.
Yeah, yeah. I would say this would be focus, but for you, it could also be presence, however you want to lean into that, because you are acting, right?
Yeah. I don't even know which one it should be, but they're both the same
Yeah,
stat.
sure.
Am I correct in thinking that I and everyone else should have the condition inspired because of my result from my earlier move?
Oh, I missed that.
On a 10 plus, the Watcher is entertained for now. Any custodian with a
Oh,
condition of
yeah.
disappointment can clear it, and all custodians who participated in the scene may take the condition inspired. They can clear this
Right.
condition at any time to take advantage on a roll.
Absolutely. Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, everyone enter that to your conditions. That could actually really help you out. Are you going to use inspired for this roll, or you just wanted to keep track?
I am going to use it for this roll.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm going to be a power gamer this
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 6.
Oh no. We'll come back to the 6. Um, let's get back to the road. We have these prompts describing a shrine that Bastion notices, and then Zeph as well. If I could get those prompts in order. So I guess Bastion, then Dr. Riemann, Quick, then Zeph, and then Merryweather.
Yeah, so I think what catches um, Bastion's eye in particular is that this shrine is made of bones, skulls in particular. There's sort of a pile of. They look mostly like deer, maybe some animals, other animals mixed in there, but kind of piled up. And there's something sort of suggestive of, in a very simplistic fashion, of a deer's skull about the way that they've been piled as well. There's sort of a big pile at the top, and then two kind of, you know, uh, like thinner outcroppings on top that kind of suggest antlers. And obviously, several of them do have antlers poking out as well. And that Bastion is going to kind of pull the truck to a kind of um, juddering stop as he notices this.
Nice.
Was that me? Sorry.
You're good. Yep.
Was that Zeph? Does it appear to have been interacted with since? I think we don't see much evidence of recent human worship, but we do just see a crow, as crows are wont to do, comes fluttering down with something golden shiny in its mouth that it just drops before the altar like a natural offering.
Nice.
And how does the landscape respond? And I believe it's responded to this sort of natural offering that around all of these bones that plant life has grown more than the surrounding areas, like where it might be sort of like low grasses. This is mosses and flowers have sort of worked their way up the bottom of this bone pile.
Amazing. Yeah, I
And
guess it leaves Merryweather.
yeah, what kind of god do you believe this shrine invokes? Do you know its name?
You can leave that open-ended however you want since you're not there, but if you had ideas, absolutely go for it.
I think this is a god of memory. Those who worship it call it legacy of dust, or your bones will return to me and I will carry your sorrows.
Wow. Amazing. So both Bastion and Zeph, you do have that prompt if you want to just kind of do the journey move. You can kind of talk, you can clear a condition here, but also this is a special journey scene where you can choose to interact with this shrine. And there might be a bonus to doing that, but that is going to be the revelation move if you choose to. So we're kind of telegraphing that there's something to these shrines if you want to, but you don't have to.
Well, it seems like Bastion pulls over and Zeph, who'd been scanning the radio casually, not caring whether Bastion was like cool with it or not, was just doing it. Looks over like, what? Why are we stopping?
I saw a shrine. I thought I'd go and check it out.
Do you make a habit of this?
Yes.
Huh. That doesn't. Is it a shrine you do you know? Like, is this between you and me? Do you know who it's to?
Not particularly. I suspect he kind of casts a glance over as he's sort of opening the door. I'd say something local. Uh,
You you do know, I mean, do you just go up to these shrines? You know that that's not Are you just wanting to be a sacrifice? Do you just love the idea of provoking a wild local god? Something completely unmanaged, un uh, unlicensed. What are you doing? Do you just do this all the time?
I mean, I wouldn't say I love the idea of it, but I mean, we've all got to go eventually, and
Huh.
we should at least try and experience new things while we're here.
That's an interesting way to do things. But he does get out with Bastion because he's got to see where this shit goes. He can't just stay in the fan. No way.
Yeah, and I think Bastion's going to kind of walk over to the shrine and run his hands over um, one of the antlers, um, and say, "I met a man once who'd been gored by one of these,
Hmm.
something similar. Anyway, went straight through him. It was I think it was a long time going. Wouldn't have been pleasant, but he was. I found him somewhere not too dissimilar to this, out in a forest clearing. It was really quite beautiful, and I don't know what led him to that point, but or how he'd so angered a deer that it would want to kill him like that. But it was certainly a sight to see. I buried him there the beneath the leaf moss. It was a nice place to spend some time.
That does sound you make it sound very nice. I don't believe I've never been much for the outdoors. I but I do there is something nice about burying someone. I understand we did that at the hydroelectric dam, but not in moss, of course. It was more concrete and steel. But it was nice. It was nice. So I understand what you mean. I'm sorry there's not someone here for you. I'm sure if we waited long enough someone would be, right?
Well, it's the only thing we can be certain of, right?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I think at that, Bastion is going to just lean over and press the side of his hand onto one of the antler spurs to drop some blood down the on the skulls.
Nice. Just so I don't lose track, you all do get to clear condition from doing the journey move, which I'm just going to make sure I read it before we get into whatever's happening with this. Are you intending to make like what's your goal here? Are you making an offering, it sounds like, or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
cool. Excellent. Second, move the journey move. So yeah, when traveling to another assignment, which you are, you have both shared the scene. You're talking about your personal history and relationship to divinity. You can each clear a condition if you want to, and then you stumble on a clue. So start thinking about that. It could flow into what's about to happen here, or something else you saw along the road. But you get to tell me what the clue is, and that could be related to either assignment because you're kind of right in between both. So just leaving a footnote for that. Are there any specific conditions you want to clear, either of you?
Yeah, I think Bastion. I'm clearing my the drowning song, as I think he's reaffirmed his connection to the earth.
And I want to definitely clear Marked by Jones and Company. Just
Yeah.
you know, Maybe they forgot me now.
You put some distance. Yeah. Excellent. Let's go back to this for this revelation move here. I want to give that some time. And Merryweather, you rolled a miss here. I'm going to narrate what happens. You can choose to roll with it. Just a reminder, you do have the verses if you don't like how it plays out, and you can mark those and alter it. I think so. You've already established, based on invoking the Watcher, like you have altered reality and you are appearing as this corpse. So I think it's not just that they notice that you're not dead. I think, and maybe you're able to squint and perceive this however you perceive it, but Gabriel Salesa, the antique shop owner here, it's like, my friend, I tell you, miracles come my way daily. In fact, just for you, I would like to demonstrate something new. Here we have a body, perhaps a sacrifice, but I have something, a savior in a bottle. And you hear the glit sound of like glass, something swishing in some sort of glass bottle. It says, yes, the miracle leech restores life. You'll see it here in action, and you know, mere minutes after an actual living leech drawing your blood, you feel something cold, little splash against your neck, and a little bit of numbing, little tiny teeth, little cold sensation, and gosh, I'm making up. I'm throwing in a thing from a different section. So I think basically what happens is you are reanimated. You feel invigorated, but I think you're going to find yourself temporarily, like if that's okay with you, Elle, you're losing a bit of control as this strange miracle leech is injecting some kind of other substance and like reanimating your body, but because you're not dead, it's going to have some other weird effect on you. You find yourself leaping to your feet and kind of staggering about, bumping into all these half broken antiques.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
I'm gonna keep that.
Okay. So yeah, take the condition, the miracle leech for now. And you now see Gabriel Salesa is cheering. It's like, see, it works. We don't even need the pox martyrs down. Maybe I should open up another section of my shop here. I could offer treatments. And you see the other person he's talking to has a lot of paint, like ink stains on their garments. They seem, maybe they're some kind of artist. And yeah, we'll come back to you, but you're temporarily under the thrall of this miracle leech. And let's just for fun, I think we'll say that the doctor sees some disturbance and some activity from where he's watching. Maybe just cinematically, there's a gap in some of the antiques, and I think you can recognize Merryweather staggering, behaving kind of strangely, and you see some other people on this barge just kind of like watching her amused. What do you do?
I think I'm just gonna, casually toss the disgusting bit of barbecue over my shoulder into the water, then kind of get to my feet and begin quietly strolling over towards Gabriel's shop. I wasn't sure if the lookout was for the barbecue spot or for Gabriel's shop, but if the lookout is kind of in the way, I might just kind of discreetly push her into the water as I pass. So just kind of accidentally, whoops. And
Nice.
I'm not going to try and intervene yet, but maybe just Dr. Quick is there with his little silver scalpel in his sleeve, just standing quite close to the disturbance now, listening and waiting to see if he needs to come in and help.
Yeah. That sounds like a good scene. We'll cut back to that as well and see how that plays out. And then back to Bastion. You said you're cutting your hand on the antler. You're making a small offering here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Is there any particular, I mean, you kind of set it up, but is there anything else that you were hoping that will happen here?
Not particularly. I
Feel like,
think
yeah.
this is more just um, out of habit and or
Yeah.
curiosity for Bastion.
Yeah. So this will be the revelation move. It's funny with the Karen Maiden because there's a lot of situations where I have to ask, what are you afraid will happen here? But I don't even know if that's relevant to you as much. But is there any sort of, even out of character, what might go wrong with offering blood to a random roadside shrine?
I think I'll go for the perhaps the obvious one, but I think it's
Mhm.
going to draw the attention of the god of the shrine onto us.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. And you do have that inspired condition. I mean, everyone does still, except for Meriwether if you want.
I
But
think,
otherwise, yeah.
yeah, no, I think I am going to. I think I'm going to use that because it feels appropriate for kind of an off the cuff decision. So yeah,
Yeah, great. So this will be with communion, but advantage since you're inspired.
sure thing. Uh, that is a 10.
Amazing. So there's no bad complication. Um, and with this journey scene, you do encounter a clue in the form of an omen. Um, which I will say as these drops of blood fall into this deer skull, there's that little sound of liquid hitting the bone, echoing in the hollow space. And then you hear more drops, louder, much more than your own blood. Drops of rain start falling, cleansing this little shrine. Sort of this downpour out of nowhere just kind of patters. Feel cleansing raindrops on your skin. It washes away, parts of the shrine that were sort of covered in dust from the road. And do either of you want to add, or Bastion, do you want to add anything else to what the omen here might be for you? I feel like you're the most tuned into it.
Yeah, so I think that Bastion is going to um interpret this omen, and I think obviously given where they're going, um that he is going to interpret this as an omen of kind of cleansing and renewal, particularly linked to the water. So I think this is certainly I'm going to associate this with I think young Jolly Junk, and I think trying to think of how I'd phrase it. Probably just um uh renewal through purifying water, I think.
Yeah, cleansing rain. Yeah, and that's just
Yeah,
from
cleansing
your
rain.
your successful move. You all still get to add a clue from your journey move. Do you have any thoughts on that, B? Do you want to think about it a little more?
I think maybe as we're it's may I think it's since we have one for young Jolly Junk, I think we actually see one for the floating market as we're driving away.
Mhm.
And I think it's hmm. The last one was, let me make sure I'm not going to repeat something real quick. Yes. So I think that we see something like an odd sort of bioluminescence coming from like almost like swiped on the side of these boat building things, like from a hand, like somebody's wiping their hand off, and it's a little purplish. It looks a little bit like the mold, but it's clearly bioluminescent somehow, and somebody tried to wipe it off really quick.
Nice. Yeah, if you could add that to the character keeper under the
Yes.
clues. This seems like a good moment to take a break. We're kind of in between a couple scenes. And so yeah, let's take 5. We'll come right back. All right, so we are back. And we left Meriwether um basically playing as a corpse, having invoked the Watcher and being pulled aboard Relics Reborn, the antique barge. But then having some other kind of miracle leech dropped on your skin and affecting you in some way, you find yourself reanimated. But since you're not actually dead, it's sort of almost like possessing you temporarily. And the doctor has kind of caught wind of this from a distance and is showing up at the scene. But before he's able to kind of intervene, uh, you find yourself wrapped. You see Mr. Salesa and his friend says, this is an interesting development. This could be something quite valuable to pursue. Let's follow this to its next conclusion." And he picks up a tapestry. Goes, "A work of art in itself, I should add. This is Agino's tapestry, The Metamorphosis, and how fitting." And he starts to wrap it around you, Meriwether, like a cocoon.
Yeah,
Make a move to resist this or respond however you like.
I probably should resist, but I think as he's doing that, she's like her vision's kind of swimming. She's like kind of slurring her words. And she tries to like extract her hands so that she can put them on his shoulders, but I imagine they get wrapped up anyway. And she's like, "No, this isn't right. This isn't your line. The bodies. What do you do with the bodies?"
Oh, that's great. We can do a move here. Let's do. I think this will be the veiled move. You are under the influence of this thing, though. It is the revelation move, I gotta say, because some kind of divine influence is involved, and we've established he has some sort of, you know, cursed, haunted, inhabited artifacts here as well. So it'd be the revelation move to kind of like resist being cocooned, or maybe to shake off what's already affecting you. What are you afraid could go wrong here if this doesn't work out well?
Mm. She's afraid that I mean, I think mortal danger is is still on the table
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
She's afraid that this ends with them like removing the leech and then her dying for real.
So I get to tell you how it's worse. I mean, you are being cocooned. If this goes through the way they're intending it, or it seems like they're experimenting, I mean, you will be reborn as some new saint, some combination of whatever this weird tapestry is and whatever this miracle leech is. But it'll be something new. Let's see what happens. I think revelation move. I think with vitality here,
And am
and
I at disadvantage?
yeah, because of the miracle leech.
That seems right. Okay, cool.
You can always mark items if you want to, though.
Okay, that is a 6 on the dice, and my vitality is 0, so that is a 6.
Oh, another miss. All right, we get to narrate it. We'll narrate what the doctor sees as he approaches. Um, I think you see this kind of by the time you have walked over there, and you kind of overhear this conversation and bit of crashing furniture and struggle. And you, when you walk in, you see looks like an antique dealer and some customer, maybe some associate, standing over what looks like a rolled up carpet. Um, except it's almost like, when you vacuum seal something when it's like shrink wrapped. It is the fabric has taken on a strange texture, almost like dried seaweed has kind of solidified um, around the shape of a body, which is twitching, pulsating. um, it's taking on a sort of algae green purple like hue, and it seems to be going through like a rapid metamorphosis in front of your eyes. um yeah, and that's That's what the doctor will see. I mean, something wondrous to learn about, but not Merryweather any longer, unless of course you want to mark a verse, Merryweather.
I think I will.
Get to make a new character, up to you.
Um, no, I'm still willing to explore what Merryweather's got going on. So
Yeah,
I'll think about which one to mark.
sounds good. Instead, um, it is the mixed result. So you do, I think instead you kind of like shove them aside. I mean, what does your resistance look like? I'm gonna pitch that to you first.
I think yeah, like she's been sort of feebly struggling, and like maybe it's the arrival of the doctor that finally gives her that last push, like, oh, like this is who I am and what I'm doing, and this is what's going on. And that like little burst of energy lets her like free one arm and like um put her hand as a claw on Jabril's face and sort of start to shove him away.
Mhm. Let's see. I think the complication is that, and interrupt me. I think we've got our safety tab with body horror and interest in medical horror, that kind of thing. But I think the complication is that the miracle leech has just had time to burrow. So if that's okay with you, I think this is I'm gonna change the condition to miraculous parasite. So it might it'd be more complicated to purge or remove. You might have to have some other intervention.
We got a doctor.
There you go. Great. So yeah, Doctor, you see Merryweather staggering towards you. Some kind of, I don't know what, how can you tell that she's been infected with something other than what you've seen before?
I guess the rest of her still looking, waterlogged and dead, and there's just almost this very vivid, almost glowing beneath her skin. If it didn't look so organic and red, it could almost be like a bomb, just a light, a brightness that is just working its way deeper and deeper into her.
Mhm. And from behind you, stumbling back up, Jabril shouts, "Thief!" And clattering of more antiques, and other people on the nearby barge are alerted, and they're now going to be trying to chase you out of here. We'll come back to you in a second. So Bastion and Zeph, let's move on. I really like the scene you've had with this altar. You have your omen. You found some clues on the way, and following the directions you got for this next assignment, you find your way to Blue West Beach. And we'll take a second to describe this. Slick black rocks soaked from the salty spray, water eroded pebbles and gravel interspersed with sea glass and the occasional bottle cap. There's other fishing piers and wet docks for boats here, but half of them seem to have been torn up. This is, it's not like a nice beach, but it has its own sort of rugged beauty, and this is where some tourists, it seems, come to launch their boats and that sort of thing. For everyone, let's paint the scene here. How do you know that the locals still care about Blue West Beach and the Blue West Channel, even when bigger businesses do not? And I've mentioned in the intro that there's a plastic refinery and there is a textile factory kind of nearby.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's when you get going.
Okay. I think that there's a little sign, like when you're walking up to a beach that is and it has young Jolly Junk, her little seal-headed form, like almost cartoonish on it. And it's about like keep our beach clean, you know? Praise young Jolly Junk, and it's very friendly looking right before you go on, the same way it looks like a beach is protected. Like please touch the turtles. For the love of God. It's the same energy.
Yeah, and I think there's just like some like amidst all the kind of detritus and ruin around, there's like a little metal, like one of those big sort of fixed barbecues on the beach that's obviously still in quite good repair, maybe, you know, slightly rusted, but it's you know, on a beach, so you know, that there's some, you know, kind of just little child's play area with some swings and stuff that are again all in kind of quite good repair.
Nice.
I think there's like a salt scoured old man currently on the beach who, despite sort of the frailty of his body, has dedicated his limited time and energy toward scouring the beach for anything that he can pick up.
Those little like grabber sticks picking up trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I imagine that maybe in the distance you can just see a larger group of litter pickers. And I'm imagining, you know, they all have the same uniform of high-vis jacket, maybe some jolly badges on them. They look a little bit more like a militia than a bunch of litter pickers. You know, they are maybe going around bullying people into picking up their trash that they left behind, standing over people in quite an intimidating manner. They appear to be retirees, but they certainly seem to have a presence and a rather scary authority.
This is so funny because this happens all the time. There's things that are written into this, and I don't know if y'all read it or not, but you're like, it's great. You're doing my job for me. um, yeah, not only is this beach, you know, spotless, there are multiple trash and recycling bins. There's that, like B described, the cartoonish sign of Young Jolly Junk. There are people actively going around picking up trash. And a couple other things you can see from here. Further out in the channel, and you can see it looks like this flotilla of boats, just all kind of clustered for some reason, which you've heard. They're kind of they're barred passage to the channel because this god has swollen so large. So that might be what that's about. There's an abandoned, there's a tugboat that looks like it's mostly falling apart, kind of along the pier here. Other sort of beachgoers. And yeah, I think in the distance you can see there's some other building like further up past the beach building or two. So out of character, there's a couple factory-like locations you could go look for. And there are a couple locations that you need a boat to get to. And if you want to pursue that, either of those things, I can give you more details. But what's your first approach when you get here?
I mean, Zeph's attention is immediately drawn to this flotilla of boats that seems to be blocked. Like, this is clearly the source of the problem, and that those people might be good to talk to, but also he's not like, let's get a boat and get on it. So looks over and he looks to Bastion. Have you ever been here before? Or
No,
no?
not out here.
Okay. Because I think we
Um,
should talk. Oh, yes, go ahead. I just think we should talk to them, but that's not, doesn't seem easy.
yeah. I think it's going to glance over to the sort of the tugboat and say, "Yeah, that's probably a bit far gone for us to get us out there."
I don't know. Is it like mechanic? It's like is it a mechanical tugboat? Like, does it like have like a steam engine or something, Gabriel?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think so. I mean, doesn't look like it's anyone's. I'm sure we could get it working.
Sure, let's go and take a look.
Perfect. We'll cut back to that as you get ready to hotwire tugboat or whatever. But back to Merriweather and Dr. Quick here. You're being pursued. Uh, I don't know how you want to respond.
Would you
Yeah.
allow me to try something before we get to that?
Oh, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I sort of said I was trying to approach stealthily, and you mentioned that Jabril had his
Yeah.
companion. So if I'm
Yes.
unobserved, before
Yeah.
we end up getting kind of a mob after us, I would like to try and use my little Dr. Quicksilver silver scalpel, grab Jabril's companion, and just kind of hold it gently to his throat and say to Jabril, exterior, anterior, and interior veins with the right cut. I can slice all three. I'd like you to let my colleague go, please.
Amazing. Let's do the veiled move here.
Okay.
Sounds like a dangerous situation. What might go wrong in this situation?
I could easily imagine that it turns out that Jabril's companion is actually far more physical
Sure.
than Dr. Quick, and he gets rapidly kind of tossed to the ground as well.
Sure. Yeah, this would be the veiled move with vitality. You are inspired still, I believe, if you want to use that. And also, I should remind everyone, because I keep forgetting, every assignment does have its own verse that you can mark. So keep that in mind as well.
Awesome. Vitality is, I think it's just 0. 0, yeah. But I'll take the inspired for advantage, and I will roll. I rolled a 1 and a 1 and a 1.
Wow. Amazing. I think, man. Yeah, I think it just turns out this this artist, this sculptor or whatever, you kind of grab a hold of them and you just feel like wiry muscle under their clothes, and you just realize they're just like, you're no match. They kind of just grab a hold of your hand and just kind of wrest this scalpel from you, and you find yourself, the position is completely reversed. And say it. Yeah. Well, I'll dare it. Then you can mark the verse for sure. But I think to say like, well, I'm normally a painter, but I've been interested in sculpture lately, and I can't say I know what you were talking about or what veins, but I figure if I just start cutting, I'll get to cut away what's unnecessary, right? Cut the fat off. You can mark a verse if you want.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm definitely going to mark a verse. Thank you. I'm good to go now, or I can leave it for later. Up to you.
Let's narrate the mixed result, and if you want to jump in, you can always jump in with the verse. That's always cool. I think instead with the mixed results, you do succeed. So what does it look like as far as letting Merryweather escape and kind of halting this pursuit?
I guess I'll let you say how successful it's allowed to be. So I am presuming that, I'm holding the scalpel to this companion, the painter's throat. Jabril has heard me. Hopefully he's going to comply and free Merryweather. Of course, what we do then, we're still in quite a dangerous situation. But if Merryweather can get free from this cocoon, that's probably a start.
Yeah. I think, let me just double check. You still have the other condition, right? You still have the spores.
Yeah.
Yeah, you buy Merryweather time. She's able to kind of like, again, probably establish she's just shoved Jabril out of the way at this point. Not looking great with that green, whatever's pulsing in there, but she's able to kind of get to your side. And once she's kind of safely out of the way, you're able to kind of maybe shove this other artist away. You have your scalpel. They don't appear to be armed. But then when you take your hand away, you notice it's almost like you just touched paint, like their clothes were just covered, not only with like some sort of oily paint, but pigment even. Let's see. And I think as you look at it on your skin, it's the pigment starts to move on its own, almost like it's starting to form itself into some kind of sigil or mark, like it's animated on its own. How does that make the doctor feel?
Tainted by painted.
That's great. Yeah, at tainted as a condition.
Thank you.
So, and that may be interacting with the spores. We don't really know.
Cool.
How are you doing, Meriwether, with all of this? You're able to kind of escape their grasp. Something else is going on. I'm just curious how you're feeling. What do you want to do next?
I think she's still feeling disoriented and she can feel that parasites are burrowing into her. And the only thing that's in her mind is, one, why didn't anyone talk me out of this? And two,
You made it very clear. Yeah.
we have to go. And I think she'll quickly shove Jabril out of the way. She's like stumbling toward the doctor. Um, and I think we'll just like grab whatever piece of fabric, like maybe a bit of his coat that she can, as she stumbles toward um the exit barge. She's like, I think this was a bad idea.
Yes, taking the heat off us doesn't sound like such a bad notion now, does it?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see where you want to go next. You probably need some kind of treatment or at least space if you want to attempt your own treatment. And we can treat that as its own journey scene if you want to like just get clear of this market, absolutely. Or there are the other pox monks here, who have, it looks like, a variety of options for treatment on the menu, depending on how reputable you feel they are. Think about that. Let's cut back to Bastion and Zeph. And yeah, it's kind of hinting at it heavily, but you can absolutely go and take this boat. Let's describe it for a second. It's called, as you walk up to it, it's this dingy tugboat. There's this leaky diesel engine, but it looks intact, even though the boat's like kind of falling apart. You see along the side, in chipped paint, it's called the Broken Pearl. And there's cracked seats and yellowing windows. It's one of the few docks that are left on this beach. And clearly it's been abandoned, and no one seems to be like paying any attention as you go up to it. In fact, Zeph, in your quick kind of glance in an assessment, you see right there the keys are still in the ignition. I don't know how boats work. I assume there's something to that effect, but it says there's keys in it.
That is how boats work.
Okay.
Normally.
But paint the scene. And actually, let's just see what Zeph wants to add. The former owner left in a hurry. What did they leave behind? Kind of giving you a lot of room.
Yeah, I think they actually left behind some like tools that they had been like trying to like repair stuff with. It was maybe not the best ones, and they're definitely rusted now.
Yeah, you could add that to your altar. Rusted tools. I don't know how useful they are, but we'll find out. And yeah, between the keys being there and your expertise, you can get this thing started. We don't even have to do rolls for that. There's a
Shit,
special
okay.
move for using the Broken Pearl. So I'll tell you, there's two locations that you need this boat to access. There's the Blue West Channel itself, going out into the water, and then there is the Severed Sea Flotilla, which is that collection of boats. Which direction do you want to go in first, do you think? Or do you want to search this boat? Like, what is your next move between the two of you?
I looked at Bastion like the boats, or like kind of like having to sort of yell over this like
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We can check out the boats. The boats. Yeah.
Okay. Boats. Yes, boats. And it's clear Zeph has never piloted a boat at all,
Yeah.
but he's doing his best.
Excellent. This thing's, relatively slow enough. It can't be that hard.
It's fine. It's fine.
There is a special move called Slow Moving Waters if you want to just explore the waters and search
Okay.
and see what you find along the way. Or we can,
Yes.
you want to just do that on the way, see what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's search some
Special
stuff.
move. Let's do it.
Why not?
Yeah. So When you use the Broken Pearl to explore the waters surrounding the peninsula or reach locations inaccessible from the mainland, roll with focus.
Okay.
On a hit, you make it to your destination, you find a clue. If you roll higher, there might be bonuses, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All
You
right.
get the impression this thing it's chugging along, but it's like for how long, right?
So do me and Bastion both roll? Like, do we split the roll, or is it just one of us?
Let's say you roll since you described driving it here.
All right. Got
And are you still inspired as well?
yes,
If you want to use
and
that,
I
you
have a
can.
1 in focus. So, if, you know what? I'm gonna use it because I it will be a failure otherwise.
Mhm.
So we're gonna use that, and it is a 7 now.
Okay.
Wait, no, that's or it's inspired advantage.
Advantage.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're gonna re-roll a dice.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Then it's a 9 now. Okay.
Great.
Yay. That's much better than what it was gonna be a 6.
So you do make it to the flotilla, and you will discover a clue along the way.
Nice.
What's Bastion doing? You have some time. It's not a quick moving boat at all.
Yeah, I think Bastion's just going to kind of poke around on the boat itself, see if anything else has been left behind. Um, yeah, I think that's sort of his.
Yeah, sounds good. Um, yeah, there'll be the information move,
Sure
probably
thing.
with insight here.
Yeah, sounds good. I join in the ranks of the cursed dice. That is a 5 in total.
Oh no. I'll come back to the 5. While you're searching around, Zeph, you'll notice your clue is an island far offshore, shrouded in mist. Mist just kind of clears a little bit. You kind of see something that you didn't before, and then it kind of, uh, I guess we've established it's gloomy, rainy weather, of course. Um, with the mists, I think what Bastion finds is at some point there's like a tarp, maybe you're kind of like pulling stuff around, you like lift off this tarp, and there's something, it looks at first like a mannequin, like a hollow plastic body, um but maybe it's like a cheaply like a manufactured statue of some kind. It's kind of large though, it could have been like maybe a garden statue. What, if you want to add any detail, what kind of, you would recognize this god probably, what's this deity, uh what form does it take?
Yeah, I think it's um I think it's a statue of a um yeah, it's a statue of kindly Captain Codswallop, a big white bearded sailor of the one of the patron gods of the fishing fleets.
Nice. And it's a shell made of plastic, and as you kind of uncover it, maybe it's even like lying toppled over, but it starts to weep oil slick just coming from the eyes, coming from the nostrils, coming from the mouth, just like bubbling up across the floor of this cabin here, kind of creeping up towards you. And this is, it's this manufactured, this plastic imitation of whatever this god is supposed to look like, cheaply replicated, weeping this like synthetic material. How do you feel as a follower of a steward of the Cairn Maiden? Things crying out to you, basically.
Yeah, I think that this is um I think that this is kind of difficult for Bastion because obviously there's that impulse to do something to put it to rest. Um, it's clearly suffering and you know needs to be sent on its way. But it is also obviously clearly inorganic matter, and you know he can do nothing for it by returning it to the earth.
Yeah, you almost start to hear this gurgling voice just begging you and saying, endless undeath, remade and remade and replicated and never worshipped and never free. I think your condition is the ghost of living polymer. Take that in.
Nice.
You can keep that, or you can mark a verse, obviously, and have it not be a condition, but it is a thing you. If you want to mark a verse, I'll say it's a clue instead.
Yeah, I think I am going to mark a verse because I want to start marking verses mostly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry, does that make it a mixed result?
That makes it a mix. Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. There you go. Okay, so you have the condition. We'll keep that, but it also is a clue now. I just swiped it from the clue list. So yeah, the clue is a mutilated dying angel made of slick oil bound in a hollow plastic body. I'll paste it in there for you. Meanwhile, let's cut back to the others. I think there was talk of Merryweather and the doctor getting out of the market for one. If you wanted to do a journey move, you could probably find a diner, or if you had something else in mind, you could just find a secluded place. I don't know what your priority is there, with how you want to approach that.
Yes, I don't know what you think, Elle, but I reckon we couldn't really go to the Poxmonks because I imagine that's like running away from the scene of a crime to kind of hide out next door. Like they're 4 boats along, right? No one's gonna be shaken off en route to that. So I was thinking definitely find somewhere to lay low and just kind of heal up our wounds. But
Yeah,
whatever you think.
that sounds great to me.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Where do you think we kind of end up?
Well, before we go, would you allow for one more bit of kind of daring do, Gabriel? Or
whatever, it's up to you. Absolutely.
Because I imagine I'm still holding the guy kind of by the throat. We can see the drowning song painting in front of us. I might glance at Merryweather and say, curtain call, Merryweather? I think then our friend should take a bow. And I'm just going to push the artist into his own painting.
Oh, nice.
And then turn and leg it.
Yeah. I think we see, and this is absolutely the same painting that Bastion encountered earlier. I think even as you push him towards it, it was partially covered. Tapestry had fallen onto it, but it falls off again. He kind of stumbles and kind of like just stares transfixed, and you see him just kind of like leaning, as if like in a museum, like leaning inappropriately close to the painting, and then going out to just like stroke the oil, and you see the paint come off on his hands, and he's communing with this painting. Yeah, he's not gonna be a problem for the meantime. And yes, you flee that scene. Did you want to, Don, you mentioned narrating a verse. Do you want to do that now, or you want to save it?
Yeah. If it won't kill the pacing now, yeah. I imagine as he's kind of running away into the dark, Dr. Quick just looks down at this horrible pigment spreading across his hands, and then for a second we flash back and we see the hand of a child with a spreading wound across it. And this is going to be a verse of history, and this is going to be how you first met your god. And we just see that there is a young boy, a very young Raymond Holt, Quick, not Raymond Holt, Raymond Quick, maybe 10 years old. And he's just sitting kind of with slightly teary eyes looking at this cut deep in the forest. Footsteps next to him, and then another identical boy standing over him says, "Let me see, Raymond. Raymond holds it up to his twin brother. He goes, "Don't tell Mum, okay?" And he just puts a finger to the wound, Raymond's twin, whispers a few words, and we see the cut rapidly heal. And Raymond says, "Will you show me how to do that, Eric?" And his brother just smiles and says, "It's not something that can be taught." He taps him on the shoulder, turns and walks away into the forest, and Raymond stares at the blank flesh that used to be his wounded palm.
That's amazing. Love that. Let's cut to where you're going next. Are you presumably to help heal Merryweather or recover? I can give you places where you could find, or you could kind of describe where you would head to. You're on foot, I suppose, but there's places down the road.
Sure.
Let's do a journey scene. I think probably an easy thing to do is to step into some kind of diner. This one, because we're sort of near the river. This place is Brother Brian's Bait and Tackle. And there'll be a couple prompts for this, for painting the scene. Give me a second to paste that. So for each, we'll go in order of character keeper again. I'm going to paste a couple prompts for you to describe this place. And you recall a time, I think if you want to use it, will be this one. What food do you miss the most? While we're thinking about those paint the scenes, let's cut back to Zeph and Bastion on board the Broken Pearl. You do make it towards the flotilla. I'm just going to describe that, and then we'll see how you all, how Bastion recovers and from this site in the back. The Severed Sea Flotilla, a collection of fishing boats and recreational vessels. They've been chained together just outside of Jolly Junk's reach. And so as you draw closer, you can see that there are decks lined with plastic trash bags and scrap metal. You swear you hear a scream at some point, a splash. Someone, maybe they fell overboard or they're being thrown overboard. And you can kind of see from a distance some like almost a small mound, an island, but the edge of the god itself, you just get an impression of like oil slick for almost like a small grassy hill peeking up from the water. Besides that, it's just a whole mass of boats and trash. I think for both Bastion and Zeph, really quick, we'll paint the scene. Describe a boat in the flotilla. And do you get the impression that its captain and crew are here willingly, or are they desperately fighting against the current?
I think we see one call, and it has it in beautiful letters, but it's called the Rusted Hook, and it's clearly some sort of fishing boat, but it seems like it kind of got caught up in it. That might have been where we heard the scream from. They don't really seem like they belong here. They might have been caught up in this chain of flotilla, this flotilla chain, and were trying to get through and couldn't. And now they're just kind of here, not having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, the captain seems to be shouting at the others, like shouting directions, like "No reverse, no, cut that line." And then as soon as they cut one line, something else has been tangled up. There's like fishing lines crisscrossed everywhere. It's a huge mess.
I think in contrast, we see a big like oil tanker here. It's clearly sort of on its way to the refinery. The crew of this are clearly just impatient about being stuck here and want to get on with what they're doing. This is costing them time. I think that it's got those big block white letters painted on the side, and they're just called the Ever Flowing. We can kind of see probably just a patch of that sort of petrol sheen on the water around it, kind of thing. But I think a lot of the other ships are chained to it because it's obviously the currents around here are sort of nothing to it.
Excellent. Yeah, you're able to approach, depending on how close you want to get. What's your next move, Zeph? You're piloting this thing.
I mean, unless Bastion's right there, Zeph is just going to make the decision to go up to the most official looking boat and go ask some questions. Like it's super normal, super supposed to be there. This is not clearly some. He's failed once at this, and he's gonna do his damnedest not to fail again. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's just piloting his way up to as close as he can kind of get to an official looking boat that doesn't get him tangled up in all this other stuff. I don't know if that's a roll or not, or what we're doing here, but
yeah, we'll ride the success of your previous roll here. That makes sense. I think you see maybe it's a small it's not a full yacht, but it's like a pretty nice, again, I don't know the right terms for the size of the boat. Let's just say it's a small yacht. And you see someone on it, you get the impression of tinted sunglasses, an expensive polo shirt, hands gripping the wheel that clearly have like never worked a day in this person's life. And he kind of like sees you looking at him and takes the sunglasses off, and it just says like, that thing's running. Look, I got, he takes out his wallet. I'll pay you whatever you want. Just get me out of here. I want to get back to shore. I didn't want to be a part of this. This isn't a luxury channel whatsoever. Go to the other side of the peninsula.
No, without hesitation. Zeph is just like, deal, get over here.
It's like, well, and there's an awkward gap. I mean, he's shouting at you across this crisscross of lines and such, but desperate to get out of here, and it's just trying to use what he can.
Amazing.
Of course, you see all the other nearby ships, just kind of crew glaring at him like they've probably been hearing this guy all day. And
awesome.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think?
Gonna try to, and of course, after this offer, I'm like, Bastion.
Yeah.
We have to. This person wants to pay us money to just get them out of here. It's a good idea. Maybe we could get some info. Do you know how do we get them though? They're kind of far. Do you know how to do that?
I mean, I guess if I think it's going to look around. I mean, this was a tugboat, so there must be some cables here. I can jump across, hitch us up, and then we should be able to just pull them right out of there, I guess. I think that's how this works.
That sounds right. That sounds... Yeah, we're going to do that. And I turn to the person who's yelling at us. We got it. Don't worry.
Kind of looking like not very convinced yet. The other fishermen are kind of yelling at him, just like, to leave them alone. Like to shut up already. Let's cut back to they're like, some of us are actually trying to earn an honest living here. You're scaring the fish, or whatever. Let's cut back to the other two and Brother Brian's bait and tackle. So to keep it simple, order the character keeper. The first prompt is, what notable iconography or decor stands out to you as you step into this restaurant?
Yeah, so I think I think all of the decorations and stuff in here, it's not particularly nautically themed. It's all sort of paintings and other decorations that you might see in any other home, except all of them are water damaged. They're encrusted with barnacles, so it's obviously all stuff that's been salvaged from the waters.
Nice. And John, what specials featured on the menu?
I think there's something that very much stands out where it's right at the bottom, and it just says saltwater sangria, chug a jug without chundering, and win a prize. And maybe you can see behind the bar, they've taken some pictures of the kind of the rubes and the tourists who come in here and try and drink salt water, just kind of retching it out. And they've had snaps taken of them as they've done it.
Amazing. That's almost going right into the next one. But B, what quirky diner tradition do the locals maintain here?
Other than that one, which is definitely maintained lovingly and very steadfastly, there are like the only fishing type stuff is like this little like under the bar there's like little lures almost like sort of like taped or glued, and people like carve their names as couples like their initials, but you put it like a lure in the little heart, and it's kind of like a first date thing to do. It's kind of a cute thing. Some of the lures are really old and kind of like deteriorated, and it definitely doesn't look cute. It looks messy and a little sharp.
Awesome. And then Elle, the last prompt. What rumor have you heard about the owner of this establishment?
Um, I've heard that he's a follower of the local god Legacy as Dust, as his dearly departed wife was. And at the end of the day, he collects the fish bones from the used plates and the change left in the tip jar for his altar.
Amazing. Based on some of these prompts, I'm going to add one more potential recall a time prompt. So before I'd mentioned, if you want to, Elle and John, you can talk about the food you missed the most, or the last place you went on a date. I feel like the atmosphere, in its weird way, is kind of calling back to that a little bit. But yeah, you walk in, you have the scene.
I think maybe we see Merryweather sitting across from the doctor in a little booth, and she looks terrible, to put it succinctly. Maybe we've already ordered even, and she's got this like huge plate of food in front of her that looks like the very last thing she wants to engage with right now.
And I imagine, go on, sorry.
No, go, please.
And yeah, Dr. Quick, I imagine, is kind of he's just taking out some chalk, some prayer mark items, and he just sort of glances across to check that a waiter isn't watching and says to Merryweather, "All right, we're going to have to be discreet, but I think we need to get that thing out of your shoulder as quickly as possible. Are you willing to lose it?"
Am I willing to lose it? The parasite under my... Yeah, I think I could manage.
Well, some superstitious healers believe that these things are a blessing. But yes, I think without drawing too much attention to ourselves, we can remove it. Just remain still and trust me, please. And I would like...
You're gonna do it right here?
Well, I think so. We could always head out to the car park and do it there after our meal. I just figured you'd want to remove this as rapidly as you could.
Okay, yeah. But if I scream, not my fault.
This won't hurt you.
Okay.
And I would like, if you will allow it, Gabriel, to do my good old let it pass unto me and try and take on Merryweather's miraculous parasite.
Oh man. So good. We're finally seeing the pox monk here. I was starting to think about, almost stabbing people and all this, but now healing. Yeah, could you read the move just so we hear what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can have up to 6 conditions instead of 3. Other custodians can clear physical conditions by passing them to you in a ritual of transference, provided you have time and a reasonably safe space to do so. When you transfer a physical condition, note it as a condition in a sheet and roll with vitality. On a hit, choose 1. On a 10 plus, choose 2. You gain an insight about the illness in the form of a clue. Tell the keeper what it is. You gain an insight about a nearby danger. The keeper will describe it. You receive a gift if healing a side character, or the ritual does not attract unwanted attention. You cannot clear your own conditions with a journey move. Instead, you may perform your personal ritual during the journey move to discover a clue for an ongoing assignment. Tell the keeper what it is. And then it says at the end, you may clear a condition of your choice when you do any of the following. Put yourself in harm's way, assist a side character without taking payment, give a side character a helpful item, narrate a scene where you listen to the troubles of a side character, or hold an overnight vigil over a sick and dying person. So I guess, Gabriel, like, Dr. Quick did put himself in harm's way to protect someone else this session, but I'm quite I don't want to negate the miraculous parasite if you don't want to.
I think whatever is most fun for you. I think do you have any other conditions right now?
I do have the mold spores. Oh, okay. And paint tainted, so I'm quite perceptive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We could kind of have one flow into this. So I think this is like an extension of you putting yourself in harm's way. And now you're kind of like helping to heal her. So yeah, that makes sense. Let's have the roll. And again, just a reminder, you have alter items, but also there's a verse to anyone, multiple verses if you want to use those.
Okay, I don't see my alter items helping necessarily. And I've rolled so badly today, maybe I'm due some good luck. So I'm just going to go with my flat vitality of 0. A 2 and a 4, so that is a 6.
It's because you said it might be great. Yeah. Okay, with the 6, let me just look at the move really quick. Yeah, what does the setup look like? You're talking about like you're just trying to like extract this really quickly.
Yeah, so I imagine kind of under the table, I've made some chalk marks on the underside of the table, and I just kind of maybe kind of hold Merryweather's hands and just say to her, my favorite food that I can never get anywhere. Well, I used to go to the cinema with my brother. We'd sneak out together to the movies, and he'd always get the popcorn, and he'd always let me have the last one. The very last piece of popcorn in the bottom of the bucket was the best damn food I ever tasted, and I've never had it since he left me. Just hold your mind on something good like that. And then I'm going to begin to recite the Pox Martyr's Creed, which I think you've hopefully got on the sheet. O kindly pair, hearken to me, brother that itches, sister that drips. My flesh is yours, I make my plea. What was bestowed, let it flow from them and pass to me. What harm was done, let it flow from them and pass to me. What sickness dwells, let it flow from them and pass to me. What poisons, what chokes, what twists, what breaks, let it pass to me.
Amazing. And it starts to work with the 6. Here's what happens though. Again, we're all on board versus body horror, medical horror. I think it almost eagerly kind of hears itself being called this like strange parasite, and it crawls its way up from the little wound on Merryweather's shoulder here, and kind of quivers and stretches and leaps at you, almost kind of like getting into alien sci-fi territory here. Leaps, very enthusiastically chomps at your flesh and burrows immediately before you even kind of register what's happening, and you feel yourself seized, reanimated, this miraculous surge of life, a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit cold, and you find yourself standing up. I'm going to add for context that you actually have not ordered yet. And Merriweather notices, you're unaware of this, but you find yourself staggering, animated, drawn, just a sort of hunger in yourself. You need food. You smell food from the kitchen. You're walking towards the kitchen. And Merriweather, you see that it kind of dawns on you that you've seen no staff here yet. Or at least not for a little while. There is a sign, large scrawled marker, in front of this sort of service window. And it says, "For service, leave an offering for the chef. Do not approach the chef. No requests, no exceptions." Kind of rewritten several times, kind of desperately. Merriweather, what do you do?
I think we hear her mutter to herself, kind of, "Oh shit." And she'll like scramble out of the booth, probably nearly scraping her leg on one of those little sharp pointy lures that the couples have left. And she'll pop up behind the dock and with her hands on his shoulders, like, I think we have to sit down. Sorry, chef. Does she see the chef?
Yeah, the curtain draws aside, first one hand, then another hand, then another arm, like it's still holding a cleaver. Then another arm comes up, various utensils, and you just kind of see the hint of something kind of looking up from below, sort of like an arachnid with many eyes. And you hear this just growling. You pissed off the chef. Starts clacking, starts whirring these various utensils. Unless you want to mark a verse, or we can kind of see where this leads.
Yeah. I'm not averse to a verse, but I'm quite excited about this, chef. So I might stick with it.
Yeah, okay.
Have I taken on the parasite, or is that still with?
I'm trying to interpret that too, because it is a miss. I think
I'm happy to mark a verse if that'll let me take it, but we can still keep the chef.
Yeah, I guess
I'm happy to say
I've narrated that you've taken it on, which kind of caused this problem. So let's say that you have taken on the parasite, but now you're sort of in immediate danger is the miss condition. I think that's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time. Let's jump over to our friends with this boat plan. You're trying to get this tourist, this rich guy off his boat.
Yep. Oh geez.
Let's see. Yeah, who sounds like a group effort here. What
Yes.
does this plan look like?
I think go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, yeah, Bastian's going to be kind of looking around on the back of the boat for, some rope or cable or what have you, fastening one end to a thing on the ship. My nautical knowledge coming in there. The rope hitch, metal things, and is gonna fasten a knot around that, and basically wait till he thinks he's close enough, and then he's gonna jump across to their boat.
I was just gonna chime in here because I'm curious about, we haven't seen the sort of core moves for either Zeph or Bastion, and I could see you justifying either of those if you're interested in tying them in.
Yes.
Because that does sound like doing something without regard for your safety if you want to go that route. Cool. Yeah.
That was what I was angling for.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, let's read that move if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, my core move as the for the Cairn Maiden is a long and lonely road. The maiden is never far from you, sometimes walking slowly at a distance, waiting at the edge of your vision, or standing alone in a ruined and forgotten place. The maiden still has a plan for you. Whenever you are instructed to mark fate, either by a move or the keeper, mark a box below. The keeper will then describe what task the maiden asks of you, usually something unrelated to the current assignment, such as a lone corpse awaiting burial, a dying person in need of company, or something else ready to be laid to rest. If you complete the task, unmark a fate box. say a final prayer when all the boxes are marked. You will serve the maiden's ends one way or another. Additionally, when you enter a dangerous situation without concern for your physical safety, mark fate and take your next roll with advantage.
Sorry, I'm realizing how long some of these moves are. I'm guilty. I made them that way. I'm asking you to
It's
read them
okay.
while, but read this paragraph. But yeah, essentially you get to mark fate because there's a sense of, this isn't your time. The maiden is kind of showing you when that is, or you're feeling that. So this isn't your time, clearly. So you can make that roll with advantage. I think vitality.
Yep,
Sounds
that
like
sounds
yeah.
good.
Oh, and I should say this is the veiled move. This is just sort of a risk move, basically.
Yes, and I think what I'm afraid of here is, now that I've come around on the idea of drowning, I think it's the fact that he will drown here and his body will never wash ashore.
Yeah.
And that is a 9.
Great. So yeah, tell us what that looks like. I'm going to add a complication, and that may or may not tie into something the maiden asks of you.
Yeah, so I think yeah, as I say, he fastens the rope, kind of looks over at the boat they're approaching, gives Zephyr a thumbs up, then kind of gets a little bit of a run up, runs forward, sort of leaps, jump up onto the edge of the boat, and then leaps across onto the other one. I think it's probably not quite as graceful as he'd imagined it in his mind. I think there's probably a bit of a a moment of like kind of just sort of landing on the edge of their boat, kind of wobbling a bit, but manages to kind of drop down on the right side with the rope still in hand.
Zeph whoops like, "Woo! Yeah! Good job! Good, you did it! You're not dead. Good job!" Like just kind of applauding from over there that he didn't die.
Yeah. And we'll cut back. We'll cut forward to when Wallop's like, "Oh, thank you so much. No one's here's been any help. They're just calling me call me Wallop. My name is actually Wallop. They're just making fun of me, saying I don't work. I'm just going on a cruise. I'm just trying to see the sights, But thank you so much." And he's like kind of starting to make offers like, "Oh, sometime if you want to tour anything, I'll take you, down the river. There's some nice restaurants. I'm glad to once I get my boat out of here, of course. Just appreciate this so much." And as you're it's almost like that kind of fades out and you become aware again. You hear that gurgling, that begging sound of that dying angel in the back of the tugboat. And I don't know, feel free to alter this however, I don't know if you hear the maiden in words or just images or what, but you become aware that there's many more where this thing came from. And there's that, you're keenly aware of that that unique sort of horror of being sort of endlessly replicated and never allowed to rest. And that sense that somewhere upriver there are more and more of these things being manufactured, this living polymer with just some consciousness still in them, bound, trapped in these cheap reproduced forms, never seeing full like glory or manifestation, and never getting to return and become something else. And however you can help put an end to that, that would be right with the maiden.
Sure thing. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, interpret that how you want. Was there anything else to that move? Just double checking. Yep. Okay, great. But yeah, you have the side character, Wallop, just kind of gushing, just very grateful, complaining at length about the manners of the other boaters and stuff like this, and this whole mess. And then how they were so rude to him, and he was just trying to get rid of some waste from his ship, and then they were shouting him about polluting the river, and it's such a mess already. And anyway, you can definitely ask him questions if you want to pursue that route. But let's cut. I want to maybe get one more scene with each group before we wrap up. I want to see what's happening in this diner, this mess of a situation. Merryweather, it sounded like you were coming to the doctor's aid.
Trying to pull him
Yeah.
back from approaching the chef. Yeah.
Yeah. And making sure I don't miss a detail. We're rolling with the miss, is that right, John? Or did you mark something? I couldn't remember.
Now let's go with the miss, I think, please.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think someone here will have to make the revelation move. Just that's what's happening here. This is I think you can I'll ask Elle, how can Merryweather tell? I mean, maybe this is what it was intended to be, but maybe not. How can you tell that like there's some other god that's sort of taken up residence here?
Taking up residence in the diner.
Yeah. Sorry if that's not too obvious already, but like what else? How can you tell this isn't like brother Brian? Like this is something else.
You said that the chef was sort of positioned below, right? Like we're kind of looking down,
Yeah.
and he's like in a recessed sort of pit kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that when Merryweather gets a glimpse down there, it's clear that the chef is standing or sitting or something on like heaps and heaps and heaps of bones, not just fish and animal bones.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Is that even, you were saying the legacy is dust or something, right? The rumor?
Might be related to that.
Yeah, maybe. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think this will be the revelation move. To I don't know, to basically just like escape the clutches of this thing. What are you afraid might go wrong here?
I'm afraid that we are grabbed by the chef and we join the bones.
Yeah, I think it's worse than that. You will sort of become chef saints. You'll be sort of interred in another corner of the kitchen here to just eternally churn out whatever washes up from the river, bound in service in this restaurant. Let's have the roll. I think focus, kind of keep it together.
Sure, I'm just looking at my items really quickly.
Yeah. That's right. You just cleared the condition, which is nice. So
Yeah, I think I might mark my portable spotlight. I think I actually wear it as like a kind of pendant around my neck. Um, it's like gold. It looks like a kind of carved sun. But when I like manipulate it in some way, maybe I just like kind of press it, it releases this like incredible beam of like concentrated light that like fills the room. It's like blinding. And she's hoping that'll help distract the chef.
nice. Great. So take advantage on that roll.
That's a 4.
Oh no. I think instead it's a beacon. I think this chef, these many limbs, you see how it's able to cook all the orders for the restaurant at once, and limbs just keep coming. It's just a mess of limbs, some of them holding various implements, meat tenderizer, cleaver, pliers for some reason, and just rushes both of you, grabs both of you in many limbs, the way a spider tackles its prey, and drags you both over the counter, and your many bones are scattered in all directions, merging with other bones. And at some point, some other poor traveler will come in and tentatively make an offering and hear the clatter of many more limbs preparing their food with astonishing speed. Unless you want to mark a verse. I'm kind of throwing the doctor into that, but that's kind of where we were at with the miss. There is the
Uh,
verse of either assignment if you want to mark them as well.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna write a verse. I actually have one mark that I haven't
Okay.
narrated yet, so maybe I'll narrate that one now, and I will mark. I will
The
also.
verses for the assignments, just to mention, I've
Mhm.
pasted them into the assignment tabs, I believe, if you want to see what they're about. There's a little verse section under the assignment, and if you scroll over it, you can see that too. But sorry, you were saying something else.
Um, I think I'll mark the verse of promised deliverance from the floating market.
Cool. So that one, everyone narrates that one. Let's paste that in the
If
chat.
people need time to think about it, I could narrate the verse I marked earlier
Yeah,
now and give people time to percolate if they need.
sounds great. I put it in the chat here. Yeah, love to hear yours.
Okay, this is the the Whispered Psalm, the first of the verse of prophecy. Narrate a flashback to the first time you felt the presence of the Watcher. How did you feel truly seen for the first time? I think that as like in the present, this light fills the room. We flash back to Merryweather in front of like standing in kind of a blinding spotlight. She's in her early 20s, maybe. And we see that she's facing a camcorder and a tripod. There's a trio of kind of professional looking people behind a table. There are three pairs of eyes watching her. And the man in the center says, "All right, you can go ahead and get started whenever you like." And Merriweather says, "Oh, okay, I can start. Okay. Hi, my name is Mary Resnick. I'm reading for Willing Sacrifice number one. But first, I really want to say I love your work. I think the theater is so important." And the guy's like, "No, we're seeing a lot of people today, so can we just let's keep it moving?" And she like sort of takes a beat, staring into those eyes, cold, unfeeling. She realizes she's already blowing this. They already don't like her. So she might as well just get this over with. Okay. Um, Willing sacrifice number one. And as Mary said earlier in the session, you never step on stage knowing you're going to kill. And indeed, she does not kill today. She fucking dies on this stage. She learned lines for this, all two of them, but in the moment, it feels more honest to the character, more honest to the part to scream. So when she opens her mouth, she screams and she imagines what it would feel like to really be that person. And she feels the fires licking at the willing sacrifices. She imagines death hurtling toward her like a rampaging beast while they all watch and they say nothing and no one does anything. And she keeps screaming. She didn't even know before now that she could hold this much air in her lungs. And the sound of the scream is ragged, and she coughs up blood and she falls to her knees and she feels something that feels real and true. Like this pain is real and true. And she smells fire. The room smells like burning hair and charred meat. And everything has fallen away, but she feels this incredible heart-stopping stillness. And then a great blooming, like a rising plume of smoke. Like she is died, thrown in the fire, and something new is being reborn in her body. And when she sort of comes to and looks down at her hands played over her knees, we see that there are no fingerprints on either. They've been burned off. And we just hear from like off screen, almost as though like miles away, the voice of the casting director saying, "Great, thanks for coming in. We'll call you if we think you're right for the part."
Wow, incredible. So many stars. Well, great session. Gosh, I don't know what to do after that. Um, to follow up, though, does anyone else, any other custodians, want to recall an advertisement for a divinely branded product and the benefits it promises seem too good to be true? This is for the floating market.
That's a hell of an act to follow. I don't think it's going to live up, but I will go next. Um, and this is an advertisement that Zeph saw when he was younger, maybe before he even started really following the Saint Electric the way he does now. But it was for something that was branded as the Saint Electrics. There's so many things that hold her brand. It almost has lost meaning, but it was it was a toaster oven that was Saint Electric branded. And it promised to be faster and cleaner and more efficient than anything else. And of course, his family bought it, but there was something not real about it. It didn't feel sincerely branded by her. It almost felt like someone just sort of sloppily put her brand on there, that it would cook things in like 10 seconds or less. Something absolutely ludicrous. And he felt it wasn't her, because he knew what her brand felt like, because that was in the fiery cage when they celebrated her day. That was in the sockets of the light bulbs that sort of sparked when you touched them. And this one, there's something else scrawled on the bottom that's unrecognizable, some other corporate symbol. No one really pays attention to it, but it seems to sort of just eat things when no one's around. It seems to sort of take, and you hear the sizzle and you smell burning flesh occasionally, and you don't really know what it's cooking, but it's definitely not from the Saint Electric. Something else is eating.
Are the most horrific things always like breakfast related or meat? It's amazing. Love it.
I had one, so I think maybe as Dr. Quick stares up at this many-limbed chef saint with the miraculous parasite burrowing into his shoulder, he makes a connection because he has seen these parasites before. And maybe we just flash back quickly to a time 10, 20 years ago where he was sitting on an advisory board looking at medical patents. And there's maybe two excited scientists in lab coats presenting a man in hospital robes who has one of these parasites forcibly inserted into his skin, and suddenly he wakes up from death, gets off the gurney, and stands upright. And there's a smattering of applause. Dr. Quick recalls that this isn't just some saint of rebirth, some god of resurrection. This is actually a starfish god. Starfish, as we know, can regrow lost limbs. And so he watched there with his pen kind of poised as this man got up, observed himself, appeared to be coming back to life, and then his head burst open and an arm suddenly protruded from it. This is what is now is inside him, he realizes as he stares down the many-legged and many-armed chef saint.
Thank you for helping me make that so much worse. That's amazing. any other products?
I could go. I also have a verse to narrate as well. Do you want me to do that now as well, or should I come back to the next week? Just looking at time.
Yeah, whatever you prefer. Yeah.
Sure. No, I can do that now. I think I can amalgamate the two prompts into one another. So I think kind of as I think maybe even this the Zephyr's got the radio working on the tugboat, and you kind of get the sort of shipping chatter, but you obviously get the occasional like bleed in of advertising on the commercial radio, sort of picking up on it as well. And I think there is um, another, in fact, advert for the Saint Electric comes on, and it's advertising the Saint Electric's Luxor Turner headlights for cars, guaranteed to pierce the darkest night and the thickest fog, and illuminate your way safely back to your home from your on your long journeys under the divine light of the Saint Electric. And as this is going on, Bastian's mind goes back to the oops, I've lost that prompt. Here we go. And goes back to his childhood and the first time he had a direct encounter with a god. As we see a kind of marshland. It's kind of the sun is setting, casting long shadows as the mist is rolling up from the marshy ground. We can see lights flickering off in the mist in the distance, and we see in an interesting mirror, perhaps to an earlier scene, we see two boys who both look very, very similar, as Bastian and his brother are kind of wading through the reeds and the sort of boggy ground. They're again probably sort of about 11 or so, and Bastian's brother is kind of tugging on his hand. He's like, "Come on, I'm sure we'll be able to see him this time." And as they kind of break through the reeds, I see kind of a wider pool of water with duckweed strewn over it, reeds sticking out of it, and you can see lights burning on the surface of the water, and a tall, dark-robed figure looming over the water as we see a figure. It's unsure at this distance whether it's human or not, struggling their last as they're sucked down into the mud and water of the swamp. And the figure turns and kind of beckons towards the two boys, but they turn and run off back into the evening.
Oh, amazing. I love all the things being mirrored there so much. Thank you. Were there any other prompts for this verse? Did we cover it? Or do we have one from Meriwether as well?
Yeah, I think that just the decor of the diner reminds Meriwether of a product she once saw advertised called Sailor's Delight, named after the popular nautical idiom Red Sky at Night, Sailor's Delight. And it was a food supplement that supposedly supercharges your prayers, kind of guaranteeing peaceful weather for sailors' journeys. Um, little did the sailors know, perhaps little do the advertisers know, that these prayers actually act as a beacon, drawing some dark underwater saint to sailors' boats, and that when the splintered wreckage of the boats is found, the bodies never will be, but the skies will be perfect and blue.
Amazing. Oh, these verses. So good. Thank you so much. In our last couple of minutes here, I'm just going to take over that scene because the group verse there was to bump up your results, Meriwether. So instead of the full miss, you go up, you pull the doctor back. And for a moment, it seems like this is just not going to be fast enough. There's too many limbs. This thing is just like rushing at you. And then out of nowhere, there is just a blast. And you see this thing just burst like a shotgun blast, knocks it back. Its limbs scatter among the other bones. Its pieces of cutlery and kitchen equipment drop to the ground. And a woman strolls, kind of steps past you all, ignoring you completely, nonchalantly. She's got it looks like a faded lab coat, but she's got like a flannel jacket over it, kind of a messy bun, shoulders this shotgun, and is kind of inspecting the pieces of this thing and kind of half talking to you all, half ignoring you, and just says, "You don't really know what you're doing here at all. It's kind of remarkable to see you survive this long, if this is how you're going to go about it. But I do respect that you are trying to get up close and personal, have to look a God in the eye, or the eyes." She kind of squishes one of the many eyes that is scattered from this thing. Starts taking notes on a pad really quick. Oh, I'm supposed to give this to you. And she tosses an envelope onto the diner table and says, "Good luck. Glad to help, I suppose. But trying to get yourself killed. We are interested in your work." And if you open up the envelope, it is a letter on very official looking letterhead, the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation. And it says very formally, "Our associates have noted your work in the field with interest. Your current trajectory is inadvisable, however. Should the situation require, we are fully equipped to activate our resources to manage emergent threats. If you find yourself in need of assistance, don't hesitate to ask one of our agents." And she goes, "Oh, it's Professor Beaufort, senior researcher with the Institute. It's my job to catalog these things. Wasn't an entire waste of my time, I suppose." She's like gathering samples of this chef's eyeballs and limbs, picks up a limb. Interesting. Good luck. And she kind of like strolls out past you as you're recovering. And we'll come back to that in the future, whatever that means. That is a conspiracy clue. Let's go to end of session questions. Really briefly, and then stars and wishes. We didn't solve an assignment here, so we're not going to mark that one. I think everyone engaged with an entity one way or another here for sure. And for the sake of time, if it's all right with you, why don't we just have each player mention your questions you marked if you feel you got them. Can we go and let's go reverse order for fun. We'll go with Elle and Meriwether backwards.
Okay, yeah, I did. I think I was vulnerable with someone, having the doctor take my parasite.
Sure. And make yourself into a corpse temporarily and have the group help you with that, I suppose.
Oh yeah, totally. Um, and I delivered a monologue that touched on the horrors that society accepts as good and necessary, although I wouldn't say it was about that. Would you count it? I don't know.
I feel like, I mean, that, but plus with when people do monologues in their verses, I feel like that counts too. It definitely is in the spirit of it. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
I don't think I necessarily undermined orders of my superiors. I do want to take that man's money very badly. But like I don't think that's necessarily undermining it. And I'm not sure if any of my monologues counted, any like little short monologues of the speech that I gave Bastion about, no, why would you want to get sacrificed by a wild local god? I don't know if that counts at all. So probably not. Not this time.
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, up to you. I feel like you're getting there, but your call. So much has happened that I don't entirely remember. I remember that was with the journey scene and the shrine, right? I don't know. That's interesting to me. I feel like that's in the spirit of it because you're touching on the themes. So yeah. Um John?
Yeah, I think the good doctor got pretty vulnerable. I don't think we can fairly say that he monologued though, because he was quite short and snappy in his speech this week.
Fair enough. And then for Bastion.
Yeah, I think my monologue at the roadside shrine probably counts. I think that was kind of a mix of nature of gods and
Mhm.
the inevitability of death.
Mhm.
Vulnerable. I suppose actually was I I don't know if it was necessarily Bastion being like willingly vulnerable, as it were, but I think kind of like admitting to poking about with illicit gods to a colleague is probably, you know, uh, revealing a bit more than he should, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, mark all those. And if there's any other verses that we didn't narrate, we'll pick them up next session for sure. And I think we just have time for stars and wishes. I mean, so many stars for these verses, just absolutely incredible on everyone's part. Um, Especially with Merriweather in that audition. Um, just blown away by everyone's verses and how deeply they're getting into the themes of their characters. Um, the roadside shrine was really cool to see these sides of the Cairn Maiden a little bit. Um, um, I was also really amused seeing our Pox martyr like eventually get to like healing people because you had this moment of like using your scalpel as a weapon, so it was really interesting to be this unconventional doctor at first, like jumping to the action. Starts with the plan from Merriweather, um, like to become this corpse to then gain information and just to everything going over the edge multiple times. Also, when there were some failed rolls, are very entertaining to see how the players responded to that. Um, let's see. I think wishes just seeing where you go from here because there's a few things that have got out of control a little bit, so it'll be kind of fun to see how the custodians sort of regroup and reapproach things, and all kinds of cool clues on the table. So I'm really curious to see what your next theories are going to be.
I'll go next because I was like noting down stars. Oh my gosh, Meriwether's death speech was so. I swear to God, I thought you pre-wrote that, Elle. That was very good. All of your monologues sound so like eloquent. It's really impressive. And that audition scene was a little too real for me. Um, Absolutely fabulous. No notes. Um, Bastion's blood sacrifice to this roadside god, that was fabulous. Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. What a cool I think this is a really cool way to play the Cairn Maiden. and I'm very excited to see what that does in the future, if this is a habit he has of interacting with stray gods that's very on point. Oh my gosh, John, the naming of the veins as you threaten the painter and then pushing him into his own painting was so cool. That was such a cool move. Oh my gosh. And I'm so interested in your backstory. Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. Everyone's backstories are so fascinating. I am just eating it up. It's so good. And Gabriel, your grasp of body horror, just like on point every time, like off the cuff body horror, so good. The other leech, the terrible parasite leech, the chef, and a plier for some reason, like that delighted me so much. And I love this campaign. There's so many different things going on and it all feels very cohesive. And I'm excited to see how this pans out too. I'm excited to see what happens when we regroup. I'm like, ooh, I'm part of like making the decisions, but I'm like on the edge of my seat, like, oh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, no, to chime in obviously as well. Yeah, the stars all around. I loved the session. It was really cool. Yeah, seeing the verses start to come out. I really enjoyed the journey scenes. Both like in terms of like the specific stuff that we came up with for them, but also how they work in the story. I'm really enjoying those. As I think they were my wish last time to see them in action, and so I'm glad we did. Because I really enjoyed those. Yeah, like I just love I love seeing Zeph's kind of playing this kind of yeah, like kind of happy-go-lucky kind of go-getting, it's great fun. And yeah, the that sort of angle with the captain of the other ship was great as well. I really enjoyed that. I really loved yeah, just again sort of the that sort of sardonic approach of the Doctor is great fun. I really enjoyed just so many moments with that. And yeah, Elle, I mean, as was mentioned, I mean, you're the 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 couple of sort of monologues he did seem were amazing. Really loved them, and I'm really enjoying just yeah, again, just all the characters the way they're coming across. And yeah, Gabriel I really enjoyed as well. I thought he did a really good job of like cutting between scenes tonight. Like everything really like flowed together nicely and played off each other. So I thought that was excellent. So yeah, no, thank you all. Great fun all around. Um, wishes. Again, no specific stuff, I don't think. I've kind of done. I've got most of the big things I wanted to get done. Sort of now. I said, seen the journey scene, started to get some verses out there. I mean, actually, I'm excited to see the next assignment we get. I guess because I've kind of kept myself like purposefully a little dark on all the different assignments. So I'm enjoying the surprise of seeing what we get thrown at us.
That's fun. I do appreciate having a range because like when you write stuff, you've like seen it too much, but then you get to be surprised by it, and then you see. Obviously, we have throwing a starter here, John narrating the verse from the Poxmartyr. Just it's a treat for me to get that side of it, and then our range of like familiarity or not. It's like surprising to everyone, so I really love that too.
I can go next. Yeah, I have lots of stars, and I actually wrote them down this time, so I know what I'm gonna say. Yeah, the body horror moments, the session where like chef's kiss, amazing. I really appreciate everyone collaborating on Meriwether's little funeral. I feel like I put you all on the spot, but I really appreciate you indulging my character's stupidity. Um, scenes that I really loved. Yeah, I loved seeing Bastion at the altar. That whole journey scene was really awesome. I love the curtain call moment from the doctor. And just like threatening the guy with the scalpel is amazing. I really love this is a very small moment, but I really love Zeph cheering, like, great job, you didn't die. I thought it was very like cute. And revelatory of Zaf as a person. Um, all the verses were really awesome to hear. And as someone who's not as familiar with the setting, it's really fun to discover it through the way you all are playing and engaging with it. Um, and the last thing I really, really enjoyed, I loved the kind of interwoven themes we had going in the session and all the different ways that things were mirrored. Like we had an interesting sort of bloodletting slash like extraction motif going, from the oil drilling to the leech drinking the blood to Bastion bloodletting at the altar to then like extracting the leech at the end of the session. I thought the way that sneaked through was really elegant and beautiful. Um, my only specific wish, I think, so Dr. Raymond mentioned losing his brother, I think, right? And we know that that's a big part of Bastion's backstory too. I'm just very interested in like exploring that parallel or like finding out what that might mean for their relationship moving forward if that comes to light for the characters. So yeah.
Yeah, I was really interested when Bastian said that because it feels like a very similar trajectory. So really interested to see what pattern there is there or what contrast. Yeah, really, really cool. It's all been said. I think again, love the verses, love the energy from everyone. My big kind of huge star is, as has been said, Elle. That was the funeral kind of drifting down the river like Ophelia. So freaking cool. And as B said, the imagery, the poetry in the words as you were describing was just awesome. And it's so funny that you're not as familiar with the setting because when you were saying it, I was like, well, the cadence of this could almost be a monologue that B delivers in the show. So yeah, really, really cool. And just almost has been said, Gabriel, it really felt like we got into this wonderful, fast-paced rhythm. And I love the contrast when we were cutting back and forth between quite a dire situation for Merryweather and the Doctor, back to Zeph and Bastian's road trip to the coast. Yeah, it's when the joy really starts to come out when you're cutting back and forth between these assignments. Yeah, really, really wonderful and really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, to echo that again, I felt like I was listening to the show during some of those monologues. Just like, is this I mean, it's like a perfect script, perfect delivery. It's amazing. Um, and really enjoying. I appreciate you all going along for the ride. Sometimes switching back and forth is giving me a second to think about it because the situation's getting so weird. So it was perfect to have different scenes to bounce between. So enjoying that a lot as well. Any other stars or wishes? Right.